Yo, so when I told you guys I was going to be posting 2 to 3 times a week, I wasn't lying. But I have a new kind of subject. I'm gonna say that I have a new subject because on my TikTok page I posted a video and I went live as well about a little propaganda, and a lot of people don't agree with me. First, I said Jaren Jackson Jr. is better than Evan Mobley. That is a different That's a different take for another day. But the take that I have today, I'm gonna call myself the hot take man, because I feel like that's what I am. I'm the hot take guy. That's what I am. Pascal Siakam is better than Jaylen Brown, and I know a lot of y'all are first instinct probably like, "What are you talking about?" But Pascal Siakam is better than Jaylen Brown, and I think he should be better than him going into next season. I'm gonna give you some numbers. I'm gonna give you some stats. I'm gonna give you some video, and I'm gonna break down and explain why I think Pascal Siakam is better than Jaylen Brown. Because if you ask yourself personally, right, really think about it for a second. What does Pascal Siakam not do better than Jaylen Brown? Is he not a better scorer? Is he not a better passer or playmaker? Is he not a better rebounder? Is he not a better defender? Is he not a better isolation scorer? Is he not a better post up scorer? Is he not a better spot up scorer? Right? What is it that Jaylen Brown does better than Pascal Siakam? They both been to the same heights, and I know Jaylen Brown has got a ring on his finger, some Pascal doesn't have, and unfortunately Halliburton got hurt in the NBA Finals. But Pascal Siakam was the most consistent option on a team that took a 68 win team to the NBA championship. Right? So they made it to the finals. He was a key part in Halliburton's elevation. Right? He was a key part in that because he was the number one option on a consistent scoring option on a finals team. That if you asked a lot of guys, are they gonna beat the Bucks? A lot of people said no. Right? If you was to ask a lot of guys, are they gonna beat the Cavaliers? People would say no. And it would get even worse on the Knicks after the Knicks beat the Celtics. But guess what? Your Eastern Conference Finals MVP, Pascal Siakam, did that. He did that, right? Jaylen Brown did that as well. He averaged 29 points per game in one Conference Finals MVP as well. But Siakam matched that. He didn't give you the scoring output that Jaylen Brown did. Most certainly no. But still, he was a Conference Finals MVP, and they both went to the NBA Finals. Yes, one as a Finals MVP at home. But I think those numbers are not the greatest Finals MVP numbers. Gave you around 21 to 22 points on down efficiency from three, mid from the field. But he played really good defense on Luka Doncic. Turned him over a lot. And most importantly, I thought Tatum should have won the Finals MVP. But again, that's a different combo for a different day. But I'm going to break down why I think Pascal Siakam is better than Jaylen Brown and why he'll be better than him next season. Let's get right into it. So as you can see on your screen, Pascal Siakam is an excellent isolation scorer. That's what he is, right? And if you go from the efficiency down the board, right, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, Pascal Siakam is much better than Jaylen Brown, especially this year of Jaylen Brown coming off a down year. In my opinion, Jaylen Brown's his best scoring year was 2022-23. His scoring went down in 23-24, but it didn't matter because his efficiency went up, and I think he played the best defense of his career, hence why they went to the championship and they won the championship. There was things he had to sacrifice and things he had to get better at and things he had to do to win a championship, to get a ring as a second option. You know, Pascal has the same thing, right? And he did that super young in his career in 2019 against the Warriors. And I know a lot of people might not count that because, you know, Steph Curry was out there playing by his dang self, but it don't matter. Pascal Siakam's a champion, and as you can see, he was a consistent option to a team that almost won the championship, went to Game 7. So, in my opinion, as a scorer as a whole, Siakam's a better post-up player. Points per isolation, if you go Jaylen Brown's .92 points per isolation, right? I do advanced statistics. I don't mean to call you guys a dummy, but if you don't watch basketball or you don't pay attention to stats, .92 points per possession means every single time Jaylen Brown gets into isolation, means one-on-one basketball, he doesn't score a point per every isolation. He gets to that 15% of the time. So he isolates himself 15% of the time. He averages 3 points every isolation. Well, not every isolation, pretty much every isolation. If he goes to the isolation, 3.2 points per game, right? we go to Pascal Siakam. He doesn't go to the isolation as much as Jaylen Brown, but he still goes there 9%, which is kind of towards the low end, but right in the middle, right? It's not as much as Jaylen Brown, but, the Pacers are a motion offense. He gets his buckets within the flow of an offense, right? But when he does go to it, he does average more points because he doesn't go to it as much, but it's 1.05 points per possession. So that's better than Jaylen Brown. Meaning when he does go to the isolation, it's better than Jaylen Brown. We all know how great of a post-up player Siakam is, right? When Siakam's in the post-ups, right, it's 1.08 points per possession. Means he can make it from the pass because he's a good post playmaker, right? He can also score for himself by face-ups with his patience. He excelled in the Knicks series with his patience, right? Just creating mismatch after mismatch and mismatch because that's what the Pacers want to do. They want to get the ball in the paint to guys like Siakam, to guys like Miles Turner, and they force mismatch, and Siakam was one of the best guys in the NBA to do that. Hence why he's averaging 1.08 points per possession in post-ups. He's ranked number 6th in points per post touch, 3.6 points per game, and he gets to it 18% of the time. And we all know that Siakam's a very, very good transition player. We've seen it in the playoffs, hence because of the offense he's in. He's playing with Halliburton. Halliburton can, he elevated those things, but Siakam is really good in transition. Like, he's one of the best transition players in the league. He's a top 10 transition player in the league. I don't know where I could rank him right now. I would have to get the numbers for you guys, but on the court, visually, like if I'm watching visually, like on your screen right now, Siakam's one of the best transition players. And JB struggled with his spacing because guess what? Spot up shooting. Siakam has improved massively in this area, right? Massively in this area. He's shooting 39%. And it's only on one and a half attempt less than Jaylen Brown. It's not like Jaylen Brown's out here taking 4 or 5 more attempts. He's taking one less attempt, 1.5, maybe even 2 less attempts, right? If you look at spacing true shooting, right? I'm explaining these things to you guys, right? Spacing true shooting. Spacing true shooting is where your spot ups, handoffs, cut back doors, different things like that. So basically, shots you're getting within an offense, right? Jaylen Brown is negative 2.2% under the league average, which is 50. He's 52% on spot up attempts, handoffs, cutting back door, right? Siakam is 56.2%, and that's 1.1 above. So he's 3 points better, pretty much, than Jaylen Brown. And I know you're probably saying this because of the offense he plays in, but ask yourself this question. Why is Jaylen Brown less efficient with more space? And it's because of one thing. It's because Jaylen Brown, for one, he's on a down year. For two, is that he struggled with taking care of the ball and getting to a spot because of his handle and because of you can say tunnel vision, but because there's clear limitations in his game, right? And that's why I don't trust him as a number 1 option next year because he really struggles with his passing and playmaking. As you can see in the 2023, his woes hit him there, right? When a lot of people said he couldn't go left. Well, he had 7, 8 turnovers in a basketball game, right? When, you know what I'm saying? The heat got into his head. He's just traveling, right? He's not taking care of the ball. He still struggles with that to this day. And that's what scares me because he's turnover prone. And that's exactly what Siakam is not. So if you was to ask yourself who's a better passer and playmaker, I would also go Siakam. He's a better post-up playmaker. He's a better decisive playmaker. He's less turnover prone. He's way more efficient with handling the ball, right? And he's smarter. He makes quicker, better decisions because he's patient. He uses pump fakes. He uses mismatch hunting, and he uses his height. That's what he does really well, and that's what Jaylen Brown needs to get better at, especially if he's going to be the number 1 option going into next year. That's what he needs to get better at. So I would trust Siakam to be my number 1 option because they're going to have a lot to prove next year. Halliburton's out. Tatum's out, right? So who's going to step up to the plate, right? So next year, because these guys are in the same tier. They're in the same tier of a player, right? And I think Siakam's slightly a bit better right now because the playoff numbers are somewhat similar, right? Like I said, the scoring, the isolation, different ways you can score the ball, right? And I bring up their pass. One has a ring. One has a ring as well. One's made an All NBA team. One hasn't. That's if we want to go in accolades in that sense. But you know what I'm saying. Rebounding, we don't really got to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Siakam's a much better rebounder. That's clear. But Jaylen Brown is on the ball way more than Siakam. He's on the ball way more. He has a way better on-ball percentage, right? And he averages one more assist, which is you should do that when you have the ball in your hands much more. He averages more potential assists because he has more shooters around him and he has the ball in his hands much more. But Siakam is more quick. He's quicker and decisive with his moves, right? If he gets a lane, if he gets a mismatch, he draws a double, he's gonna make that pass. He's a better playmaker. He's just as good as a scorer. He's a better rebounder, and defense is a legit argument. It's a legit argument. Realistically, Pascal Siakam is a much improved defender. I think on the ball, Jaylen Brown is much better, especially what he proved to be in the NBA Finals and during that playoff run. They played 11 games and they won the championship. That's how good the Celtics were. But defense is a legit argument. Around the rim protection, it's obviously Siakam. Rim point save, Siakam. Getting help, being in help. You know what I'm saying? A better team defender, I would say Siakam, because he plays lanes. If y'all know vividly, if you can't remember, I'll probably put it up on the screen. But Siakam had 5 steals dang near before the fourth quarter started. It was either game 3 or 4 of the NBA Finals, right? He was that good defensively. He was blocking shots. I mean, he still struggles with bigger defenders because of his size, and he has length, but he's not really big. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of slender, has a lot of length, but he's slender, right? So he might struggle with them with big physical guards. So that's why I would say Jaylen Brown, he's more toned, he has more muscle, right? So he's better on the ball and he's still good with his hands, right? And he's quick laterally. But a team defender, I would go Siakam. So it's a legit argument, right? So defense, legit argument. I would still go Jaylen Brown in a sense because he's better on the ball. And if you're not a big man, I think being better on the ball is a key attribute in defense, right? Scoring is pretty similar, right? Jaylen Brown averaged 22 points per game last year. Siakam was right at 20. The year before that, Siakam was also a 20-point scorer, super efficient, consistently efficient, right? Just improved on his three-point ball because he was only 1 to 2 points worse than Jaylen Brown last year, the year when Jaylen Brown was coming off his most efficient year. So he was just as good as a three-point shooter, right? And Siakam is super clutch. He has tons of clutch moments. And when your best player doesn't show up, he's going to show up for you. Hence, in the Eastern Conference Finals, when he put up 40 on the New York Knicks and Karl Anthony Towns. So he's that good of a scorer if you put the ball in his hands, right? Better rebounder, Siakam. Better passer, playmaker, Siakam. Transition player, Siakam. There's tons of things that he brings to the table that Jaylen Brown doesn't bring, which makes him more impactful to the game because he can do more. You can post him up. You can run him in transition. You can have him catch and shoot. You can have him play within the offense, do handoffs, and you can also have him set a screen and roll to the basket. There's so much more you can do with Siakam, and you don't get a negative defender on the other end. So really, true question, ask yourself, who's better, Jaylen Brown or Pascal Siakam? So realistically, guys, ask yourself, who's better? I don't want you to put no biasness, none. You might like Jaylen Brown a little bit more. You might like Siakam a little bit more. Well, who's better? I'm going to be honest. There's no biasness. I like the Grizzlies and John Moran and Anthony Edwards. I don't speak in biasness. I think John Moran's not a top 25 player in this point in his career. There's no biasness to that. I really think that, right? There's no biasness. I got to keep it 100 with every single player. I want to do this for a career, so I got to be completely honest. There are flaws, their weaknesses, and their strengths. And I think Jaylen Brown is better than Siakam. It's a legit argument. Somebody can argue the point of Jaylen Brown. right? But this is why it's not even really a hot take in my opinion. You can go either way. But I'm telling you guys why Siakam's better, and I'm giving you on-court skills, like, you know what I'm saying, post-ups, isolation, scoring, post playmaking in general. You know what I'm saying? But I'm giving stats to back it up, right? Because it's really hard to argue with numbers. It's really hard to argue with numbers, especially if you're not watching. But I appreciate you guys. The top 20 list will continue. If I have some urgent, you know what I'm saying, like this, if I have some urgent to address, I'm going to come with it. But love y'all boys, man. Love, if you're a girl watching, love you too. But I appreciate every single last one of y'all. Y'all can go to my TikTok page. Y'all can watch that video over there. I broke it down fast over there. This is a true breakdown. I go live every day. I post every day. You can go over there. Like and subscribe, right? Put me on the algorithm. Like and subscribe. I'm going to do this for a career. So we're going to keep going. But love y'all boys. And peace, man.